The Catholic Church's teaching of God's design for life and love, from Catholic Couples NFP. God is love, and He is perfectly good. He made the whole universe out of love, so it makes sense that God wanted to create and share His love. He created Adam and Eve, and what was the first thing God told Adam and Eve to do? In Genesis 1:28, God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." Marriage. Through marriage, God's true love is made visible. That is why marriage is a sacrament. It's a visible sign of God's divine love for us. Marriage is one of the deepest ways humans can reflect God. Marriage is not just a convenient arrangement or contract between any two people. Sacramental marriage has covenant promises between a man and a woman with God as their witness and partner. Marriage is a total gift, total communion, and total union. Every marriage will have its challenges when either spouse may at times feel or think that the marriage is too difficult and the forgiveness required is too big. But the Church teaches that with God's grace in the marriage, the couple is strengthened. We might fail, but God cannot fail. St. John Paul II teaches us that the spousal relationship that unites husband and wife helps us understand the love that Christ has for His Church. In marital union, both husband and wife should be saying, "I give myself to you totally." The purposes of sex. God gave us the gift of sex for two purposes. The first purpose is for procreation. Sex naturally leads to children. The second purpose is unity. A very special bond is created between husband and wife. Here is what the Catechism of the Catholic Church says about this. Catechism 2363. The spouses' union achieves the twofold end of marriage, the good of the spouses themselves and the transmission of life. The good of the spouses means unity and bonding. The transmission of life means procreation or babies. These two meanings, bonding and babies, are the values of marriage and cannot be separated without altering the couple's spiritual life and compromising the good of marriage and the future of the family. Our faith teaches that the procreative and unitive aspects of sex by God's design should never be separated. The Catholic Church's teaching. In 1968, as the birth control pill began to be widely used, Pope Paul VI wrote the encyclical Humanae Vitae. In it, he warned that unhappiness, depression, obsession with pornography, and increased divorce rates would follow the use of contraception. Specifically, he warned as follows. It is also feared that the man, growing used to the employment of certain contraceptive practices, may finally lose respect for the woman, and, no longer caring for her physical and psychological equilibrium, may come to the point of considering her a mere instrument of selfish enjoyment, and no longer his respected and beloved companion. Today, marriage and family life are very fragile, and contraception is the root cause of much of this. Human beings seek to realize themselves through relationships with others. St. John Paul II has taught us that love is more than feelings, and that God desires sexual love to be oriented to giving new life. Love is the complete gift of oneself. Each person needs love, and contraception is false love. It is the using of the other even when the using is mutual. What we do with our bodies affects our souls, our whole being, and the whole being of the other person. Body and soul are inseparable. Therefore, it's a serious mistake to think I can do with my body what I want, because whatever I do with my body has an impact on my soul. According to the Catholic Church's teaching, chastity is being sexually pure within one state of life. If an unmarried person is 100% abstinent, and they exercise self-restraint out of respect for themselves and others and in obedience to God's plan, then that person is leading a chaste life. And if a married couple is not using contraception, but instead is using natural family planning and is periodically abstaining for good reason, then they can be leading chaste lives too. The virtue of chastity. People who decide to lead chaste lives are happy and joyful people because chastity is a virtue. It comes under the cardinal virtue of temperance, and when one makes the decision to be chaste, to be virtuous, that person feels really good about him or herself. Abstinence is the only 100% way of avoiding pregnancy. God, of course, wants us to be happy. It can be challenging, but when we follow His design, we can attain joy and happiness. When we reject God's plan, we experience sadness and depression because we separate ourselves from God. And finally, the science of fertility awareness methods really affirms church teachings.